So this week's agent spotlight is Mr. Fernando Razo. Fernando, how you been, brother?
Dude, I've been good, man.
I
Been
know.
good, working a lot and doing a million things. I mean, you know that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I see you traveling, having a good
Yes.
time with that.
Yeah.
So tell me, man. I know. Right now, with your marketing and traveling, you've kind of seemed how to like bring those together in a perfect harmonious marriage. You're starting a new business, right?
Right.
I wouldn't say overseas, but across the border,
Yep.
across the pond.
Yep.
What led you to that, man?
Dude, it's wild. I think that one of the interesting things about that I realized from traveling, and things like traveling is absolutely one of the best traveling is definitely one of the best investments you can make in yourself
Hmm.
because one of the things I learned is that just by traveling and hanging out, I realized that I was really good at just networking and getting to know people. And
Hmm.
when I was just relaxing and going around and checking out these different cities, I started meeting these people who did really like interesting things.
Hmm.
I met a lady who was a pretty good sized investor in Mexico City, and
Nice.
I'm the kind of guy, probably just like you, who talks to their Uber drivers, and I made good friendships with the Uber drivers, and as time went on, I started looking at some of the different ways people do business internationally and comparing it to how it's done here. And there's some advantages to the way people do business here in the United States, but
Hmm.
there's also ways that people do business completely different in Mexico. And so one of the things that I learned was I can kind of take some of those things that I see in Mexico and implement those here. One of the things that I really like, and I don't know how I can implement that into real estate, but uh, some of the service that you get at the restaurants is
Hmm.
top notch, like at most restaurants.
Yeah.
And so, how do you implement that higher quality into business in the United States
Yeah.
or
Like client
business
experience.
client experience in real estate? And so I start thinking about my wheels start turning on
Hmm.
stuff like that. And so as my wheels started turning, I started coming up with these different ideas, and then I would reach back out with the people that I met, and next you know it, I'm like coming up with different ideas on how to improve my business and client experience here by using the contacts and friendships that I have over there.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you because I know we talk about this a lot. We talk about being entrepreneurial,
Right.
right? So through your entrepreneur journey, was real estate your first, like I would say, independent contractor, um, bootstrap, pull yourself up, and go out there and create something? Is that your first, like I would say, business that you've owned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the car business for like 18 years.
Okay. So you came from a sales background.
Yeah, and in the car business, they want you to think that way, but it's completely not like that because there's a complete structure and
Mm,
process on how you do that. And one of the beautiful things that I realized really quickly in real estate is that real estate is, some people think it's just the same thing. There's a structure and process on how you do business, but what I realized really quickly is that you are the artist to the canvas of real estate. So
mhm.
meaning that you create your own process and the way you want your business to look, and
Because you need a certain outcome.
you need a certain outcome. You have a certain you create your own vision, and then you create the process on how you get there. And I think that one of the things that frustrated me the most in the very beginning was I had a specific vision on what I wanted my real estate career to look like. And some people that I had spoken to within the industry would tell me things like, that's impossible. They didn't believe in something different. And
Well, because it's always what do they say? The most deadly words you could ever hear in any organization is, "Well, that's just how we've always done it."
right.
Right?
Yeah.
They can't move past
Right.
this growth, right? They can't move past that. The sky is the limit. And then once you hit the sky, you're like, wait a minute, there's outer space.
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Yeah.
continue to go and grow. So
To me, that's the first sign of a fall of an empire.
yeah,
It's just like Rome. That's how
yeah,
Rome fell.
yeah.
You
And
know.
with all your traveling, have you been to Rome yet?
No,
It's
not
on, it's
yet.
on the list though.
It's definitely on the list. I
Yeah.
think the next trip is going to be Spain.
So let me ask you a question. When did you start traveling to Mexico?
Last year, last September, the week, and it turned out to be the week of Mexican Independence Day.
So you went out there
Yeah.
Just what encouraged you to go? Did you go with a group of friends? Was it a vacation? Was it
It
just
was a joke.
it was just like exploration?
It started out
So
as
what
a
do you mean a
joke.
joke? Break. Oh, wait, back that up, bro. Okay, who are you joking with?
So like here's it started out as a joke because my dad and my brother-in-law had said that they wanted to either go they always watched the Canelo fight, and they also USC and Fresno State were supposed to play in the Coliseum.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
so
right.
and so they said, I'm gonna go watch Fresno State and USC. And I said, you know what? If you guys are gonna go there, I'm not gonna go. I'm just gonna go watch the Canelo fight in Mexico City.
Yeah,
And
that's cool. Yeah.
as time went on, I started like saying, yeah, maybe I should. Why not? And next thing you know it, booked a flight, went by myself, and next thing you know it, I'm in Mexico City.
You just fell in love with the city.
Oh, that place is unbelievable.
Yeah,
It's
that's
unbelievable. And one of the reasons why I went is because everybody that's ever been there has always said it's incredible.
yeah.
Nothing short of that.
Here's what I would tell you. So you got your real estate business going. You had a
Hmm.
platform for sales in the past, and you get out there, and I could only imagine you're probably thinking to yourself, how could I do this more,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And what could fuel it, right?
Absolutely.
Business, right?
Absolutely.
So I guess the biggest thing with me, man, I was always fascinated because I see the growth and I see the movement that you're having out there, and I see the opportunities you're creating. Um, but it was because you fell in love with the city.
Right.
You fell in love with. I mean, you know the culture, but you're
Right.
well. You had an understanding of the culture because we think we grow up Hispanic or Mexican here
100%.
in the states, but it's totally different than over there. Especially Mexico City. It's
Absolutely.
enriched in culture and history and it's beautiful. It's one of the it's they call it a it's European, it's New York, it's everything in one.
100%.
I heard their version of Central Park is huge,
Yeah.
right? It's a lot larger.
Yeah.
So you fell in love with the city, and then how did you come about? I mean, I know the idea of the business, but how did that come about?
So, um, basically, I came back. I came back, and obviously you're recharged. And one of the things that I think that one of the reasons why, like I said earlier, like one of the best investments you can make outside of real estate is in investing yourself by traveling.
Hmm.
And one of the things I learned is I learned a different part of myself. And once I did that, I came back recharged, and I got to work, started getting busy, and
Hmm.
it got to a point to where I was like really trying to figure out how in the world am I going to like maintain what I'm doing.
Yeah,
And then I obviously thought I need some help.
yeah.
And so I called some of the people that I met down there.
Well, no,
Uh,
actually, let's back up because you actually hired an assistant here first.
yes, I did. I
Yeah, I
did.
remember that. You came back charged. I want
That's
to travel
true.
more. I'm ready to go. This is
Yeah,
beautiful. I just want to go out there and explore.
yeah,
And then you had an assistant, and it didn't work out the way you needed it to because of conflicting schedules.
yep,
And I remember you getting frustrated. You're
yep,
like, I need help.
yep.
And I remember you saying, well, I just hired what was it, a Spanish tutor?
Yes,
I'm gonna ask her if she knows anybody that can help me.
yeah. So then I started calling. I called in different people, and because, like I said, the people that what people don't know, especially about Mexico City, is that there's a lot of there's a lot of professionals out there, investors and things like that. And
Mhm.
so once I started contacting those people, I got to have all these different relationships
Yeah,
and partnerships. And once we had those conversations, we came up with something that made sense for the both of us,
yeah.
and those partnerships still exist.
So you flourish in your business over there.
Yep.
And then I know last time we talked too, you were mentioning certain listings at Airbnbs that you're getting involved in.
Yeah.
So Team Razo is now expanding internationally.
Yep.
I think that's amazing. And if it wasn't for real estate, and let's just assume you were back in the car business, do you think that vacation that you took would have ended in the same result of that entrepreneurship? I'm just asking.
Well, here's the thing about this about real estate, and it's the it's one of the things that I think is the most beautiful, but it's also something that you got to stay disciplined with. Is that you can take off and work wherever you want, and it's beautiful, and
Yeah,
you can
we have the
create.
luxury of the laptop.
Yeah, you can create the life that you want. But in the car business, you have to ask for that amount of time off, and
Mm,
you're not guaranteed to get it off, and
yeah,
you only get 2 weeks a year,
yeah,
and so you're very limited on the amount of time you have. And as I've been full time in real estate, you kind of realize how very precious your time is, in the sense that, number one, you can have the ability to have a lot of it, and you can always also have the ability to have none of it
Yeah.
and work nonstop.
Yeah.
But you have to be the master of your own time.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. But you know, and that's the thing too. It's like we're always preaching, like, you know, people always use the word time block, but I always tell them too. But man, if you need to answer that, go ahead. This is live. Let's go. Okay. But I would say, you know, people preach time block, which I believe, like, it's safe to say time blocking's a good tool, but I always
Right.
like to say, make sure you get your hours in, right? Like,
Mhm.
sometimes people want to make calls between 10 and 11. And I always tell people, things come up in your schedule, things come up in your life.
Mhm.
Most people that time block, if they skip that 10 and 11, they skipped it. It's done. It's gone.
Yeah.
As opposed to the opposite, where they make commitments and they're like, I'm going to do 2 hours of prospecting.
Yeah.
I'm doing an hour between 10:30 and 11:30. And hey, I didn't finish my second hour, so now I got to make up for it.
Yeah.
And I like that a little bit better because it allows you to have that freedom and flexibility of your business. Here's what I'll tell you, man. With your career and what you have going on, I think what excites me the most is you're barely peeling back the surface. You're on the surface level
Mhm.
of this, and as you start exploring and getting more excited, the entrepreneur ship grows, um, and treat this business like a business. Where do you want to see yourself in the next 24 months?
I'm definitely going to have I'm definitely going to have two different businesses that I'm just working on, that are going to be based out of Mexico. And then those one of the businesses is going to be primarily just servicing properties in Mexico, but then the other business is going to be also servicing the company in Mexico, and also helping grow here in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, just bettering the client experience here. Because
Mm-hmm.
in all reality, here's my thing: is that when I look at business, there's two different types of there's two different ways to look at business. You have the Walmart version of business, and then you have the Hermes and Louis
Mm-hmm.
Vuitton and Gucci style of
Exclusive,
business. Yeah. So
luxurious,
you gotta,
staples.
yeah, you have to decide: are you gonna fight to be the lowest price and not really care about the quality,
Mm-hmm.
or are you gonna offer the highest quality and the highest experience? And so the business that I have in Mexico is basically, that's the focus: is how do I give the best experience and the
Mm-hmm.
highest quality.
Dude, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm definitely excited to be in business with you, and learning more about how you're developing. Um, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see the growth.
Well,
Le-
that's the thing about, like, that's one of the reasons why I came here, is because uh, the reason why I came here is because I had that vision, like I said in the
mm,
beginning, and it was never ever a question of it's impossible. It was always a question: let's figure out how we can make this better.
oh, absolutely. It's a movement. Fernando, I feel like a Barbara Walters right now. Fernando, tell me more. No, but seriously,
I appreciate that.
dude, we've been following your journey, and you know, we're definitely blessed to be in business with you and see the growth and see everything that's going on. Um, but let's talk about marketing, man, because you
Yeah,
know, you have some really, really great content that you put out there,
I appreciate that.
and I'm just curious, man. Where, where? Number one, where are you finding your inspiration? And two, um, tell me about that process, man. Tell me about, like, why do you do what you do?
Well, the inspiration I find from what I like to do is I love the idea of storytelling in marketing. I think that's one of my favorite things. And right now within real estate, there's a lot of educational stuff, and it's very
Hmm.
hard to educate and storytell. But I think that's the best way to ever educate.
Yeah, through
Anytime
telling
you can,
stories. Yeah.
yeah, educate through stories. I think that's the most fascinating way to, like, get a point across or teach somebody something. You know what I mean? So that's why I like to look at a ton of different people, different creators,
Hmm.
ways of storytelling. So that's where I get inspiration from. But one of the things that I really like is just, you know, trying to be not only different, but also, you know, uh, giving somebody something that brings them some kind of inspiration themselves. or education or new ideas, something that provokes thought and things like that. And also the idea of like just being able to story tell your own life
Yeah.
and some of the things that you go through.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely think you have a very articulate way of sharing that story. I think one of the biggest things is like not only can a consumer benefit from what you're sharing, but also real estate professionals, right? Lenders and mortgage and escrow.
Right.
Anybody that's in the industry, they could see, you know, a little bit about behind the scenes, right, of what people deal with. Because I notice you're posting to share. You're not posting to post. And I
Right.
notice that's one thing about you, but you're also not stuck in a corner for 20 hours a day thinking about what should I post that's going to be trending, what should I post that's going to be viral. You're sharing, and I
Right.
think that's one of the best things I've noticed about you. uh, but how did you get started? Like, what made you fall in love with the aspect of video? Like, when did it come to you to say, hey, this is the direction I want to go in?
I made this dumb video a long time ago, and it was a video of just nonsense, right? And then I added some music to it,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh my god, it was like a dumb video with intense music, and it changed the complete feeling of the actual video. And I'm like, I
Oh,
was
music would change everything.
I was so freaking drawn to the idea
Yeah.
that all these different pieces put together into one video can completely change the way people experience that video. And so then from there, I just started testing things out within real estate and seeing how I can get something that is a boring topic within real estate, because there's a lot of boring topics
Oh,
in real
dude,
estate,
this industry,
right?
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of legality,
Yeah,
right? It's a contract,
absolutely.
addendums,
Yeah,
disclosures.
right.
It's a lot of legal information,
Right. So how
and
do you
it's
make
not easily digestible at
Yeah,
times.
absolutely. And so how do you make something that is so legal and boring and sometimes like
It's bland. It's just black and white.
yeah, how do you make that fun? You
Yeah.
know, and so that's the process that I really really like. And after doing it, doing hundreds of videos, it's like, you start to get a process and a flow of it, and
Mhm.
then you get an idea of how can I interject my personality into that video and create a style.
Let me ask you: do you ever look at how many views you got? Is that important to you, and why? Why would that be important?
The only reason why it's important to me is because I want to know if it's something that people are actually interested in, if it's
Did it
something,
resonate with them?
if it does it resonate with people, and I can enjoy a video all I want, and there's certain videos that I love that nobody liked, but I still love it.
Hmm.
But if I'm doing something for real estate, majority of the time is I want to be able to have an important topic resonate with people,
Yeah.
and if the views will tell you that.
And here's one thing I did notice too when you share that. Like, for example, there's a home that you had in Shaver,
Mm,
and I remember it well because at first I thought it was a condo. And you're
yeah.
like, it's not a condo, it's a house. I'm like, well, it looks like a damn condo. Look at the front page.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh damn.
Yeah.
And I remember you're like, okay, we're gonna go out there, do new photos,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do a video, and I'm gonna show
Right.
what this I was gonna say condo, what this house could do. And I
Yeah.
remember seeing it, I was like blown away because I was like, man, yeah, the fire pit. You're sitting by a fire pit.
Yeah.
You showed the distance of the property, so it looked like a
Right.
huge lot.
Yep.
And then all the bedrooms. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
this would be a perfect Airbnb.
Absolutely.
And I mean, who bought it? Who ended up buying that property?
An investor who's using it as an Airbnb.
Just because you were able to tell the story. And I think that's what video does, where photos might not necessarily do.
Right.
It creates that imagination.
Yep.
And one of the things I noticed in your journey of discovering video and using it, I mean, you started even editing your own videos. Am I correct?
Right.
So you color correct.
Everything.
Let me ask you, brother.
This is a rabbit hole. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, this is a rabbit hole.
But go ahead.
Do you enjoy the process?
I love the process. The only thing I don't enjoy is that sometimes I will edit a video and spend way too much time on every single little detail, and
Mhm.
it's like, dude, Fernando, just stop. I can edit a video for days, and it just doesn't make that much of a difference sometimes. So I
Because
go down that rabbit hole.
it's that entrepreneurial but yet artesian feeling,
Yeah,
that artist, right? Because
yeah,
you said earlier in a previous video, like real estate is like a canvas, and you're the artist. It is
yep,
your job to paint it.
yep,
Um, and if everybody was a painter, there would be no art, right? It'd be everybody's version. But there's obviously people that will resonate and love it and see it and use it and buy
yeah,
it, right? So, um, one thing I did realize too is, or not realize, but one thing I do appreciate is like not only are you doing this, but you also share. You share a lot of your knowledge with a lot of agents and loan officers
Right.
that come to the office, and there you are showing them your process and sharing, um, and actually doing videos with them to
Mm-hmm.
help encourage them to tell their story.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do believe this is a people business, right?
Sure.
And yes, people deal with people that they like,
Right.
especially when they have a choice,
Right.
right? Like when you go to a doctor's office, you might not like your doctor because you don't know what your doctor is. You don't know who he is. And I
Right.
notice there are certain doctors at Fresno that are taking to Instagram, that are taking to TikTok. They're
Yeah.
educating and they're telling their story.
Right.
And dude, they got a patient list out the door because patients are like, that's a cool doctor. I want to be with that guy. They're educated. But when you normally look for a doctor, when you get insurance, you're looking at a list of just names and you have no idea their
Right.
temperament, their attitude,
Right.
and their outlook, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what kind of medical attention, because even though, medical attention is not the same, neither is real estate, right?
Right.
A lot of different personalities, a lot of different political views, and just ways people handle their lives or business. So by telling your story on video and helping others, you bring some color to that. You bring some highlight.
Yeah.
What if somebody was looking to start in their real estate business? What advice would you give them? Like, what are the three things you tell them that they have to do to get started?
Number one is you have to figure out what your art is going to be. So I think real estate is a good blend of art and science.
Hmm.
Art can be a million different things and it can be interpreted a million different ways, but the science behind it is that you have to have discipline to do the same habits every single day.
Hmm.
So I would say number one, find out what your art is. What's your form of communication? What do you love? How do you love to communicate? Two, put a plan together and on how you're going to execute that art.
Hmm.
And three, stay disciplined with it. And I think that if you can get those three
We're on
things
a live
down,
set, by the way, so you know we're calling it live, but it's just we're at the office and it's a weekday, but we can do this.
I think if
Yeah,
you do those three things, identify what your art is, put a plan together on how you're going to execute that, and be disciplined to do it every single day, then I think those are the three things that
yeah.
somebody has to do.
Have
Yep.
commitments, and track and measure them.
Yep.
I always tell people number one is simplify, right?
Hmm.
Simplify the plan. Make sure you develop the habits, and most importantly, execute, take action,
Yeah.
right? Those are the things. Let's leave it at this, brother, because we're going to do more of these check-ins.
Yeah.
I would say, with respect to um, your next venture, when's the next vacation? Workcation.
Workcation. Shoot. Next weekend.
Woo, where are you heading?
Guadalajara.
And you take your laptop, obviously.
Absolutely.
Business is still going to go as planned.
Business is not going to stop. It's going to be
Okay,
Guadalajara, and then at the end of the month is going to be Mexico City, and then
nice.
after that it's going to be a vacation. Vacation.
Oh, take some time off.
Yeah.
Time to what was it? Recharge.
Got to recharge.
That's what's up, man. Well, thanks so much for checking in
For
with
sure,
us, and
man. I appreciate
just
it.
wanted to come out and share, highlight Fernando Razo and his business, and kind of show you guys what's possible in the realm of real estate and entrepreneurship. Cool.
Dope.